the girls.
Hi everyone. You might have seen this video on the internet, child abduction social experiment, where the guy goes and in front of their parents lures children away by offering to show them puppies. And well, it's supposed to highlight the risks of stranger danger. Make sure your kids know that they could get abducted by some stranger. But then there was another article that countered this, why you should not teach stranger danger even though 700 children are abducted a day. And I tend to agree with this article because if you really look at who is abducting all these children, well, first of all, most of the children, I think it was 84%, of children that are reported missing, either they ran away or they're missing because of some misunderstanding, like they didn't know when they were supposed to be back, or the parents didn't remember where they said they were going to go, something like that. Of the rest who are actually abducted, the majority of them are abducted by a parent or someone who they know. Like a lot of times it's because of a custody arrangement that one of the parents didn't like, that they didn't get custody, so then they just grab the kid and take off to Mexico. So in the end, only about 90 children a year are abducted by strangers. Here's a weird thing. A study that was done on abductions found that children abducted by strangers were harmed less frequently than those taken by acquaintances. In any case, you don't want your child to get abducted, obviously. And I think you do have to kind of tell them, don't go off with a stranger, but to teach them to just be afraid, just to use the catchphrase stranger danger. I don't like that at all. I think we're isolated and paranoid about each other enough as it is. I don't really want my child to grow up thinking that everyone is potentially out to harm him. But here's another side of abductions. Medical abductions. CPS abductions. Here's a story about a family that was living in an RV because they were homeless. They had become homeless following a series of events and chose to live in an RV. And they ended up living in a place called Slab City in the California desert. And a bunch of things happened involving her husband, who was diabetic, having unstable blood sugar and mistakenly being thought to be drunk by police. They said that he was asking people for money while his kid was in the RV, so, you know, maybe he was sort of panhandling or something. Anyway, they got on the radar of CPS, and CPS stepped in and grabbed the kids. You know, it's very, very bad for children to be ripped away from their parents. I mean, it should really only be done in circumstances where the children really are in danger of being really neglected or abused, and there's no other remedy. And CPS probably should have tried to do something like help the family if they were so concerned about them living in this RV park, and not just take the kids away, because that's really going to be traumatizing to them. Probably much worse than living in an RV park. Vermont kidnaps and forcibly drugs teen after mother sought help for her anxiety. This is a story of a woman who took her teenager in for anxiety, and they ended up putting her in the psych ward. It's not the only time I've heard of this. There was a case of Elizabeth Ray. Boston Children's Hospital put her in the psych ward for her anorexia, which she had because she had pandas. And this happens sometimes when children have unusual conditions like pandas. It's not the only time I've heard of a kid being taken away and confined, doctors disagreeing with the diagnosis because of pandas. The other one was mitochondrial dysfunction. Justina Pelletier was incarcerated in a hospital, and they withheld treatment for her mitochondrial disorder. She severely deteriorated. I mean, she was really kidnapped by social services in the hospital. Eventually, they got her out, the parents, but it was because of a huge campaign. They raised a lot of awareness, and eventually they did get her back out. And they're not the only cases. There's another one here. There's a case of Isaiah Ryder, who was taken from his mother's custody and put into foster care in Chicago. His mother's lawyer and a state representative consider unjust accusations of medical child abuse. Basically, this teenager has neurofibromatosis, and he had all kinds of problems with his leg. He'd had a broken leg, it didn't heal right, he ended up having an amputation, and he was having like leg tremors and a chronic pain. And his mother didn't like the way they were handling his care, and she asked for him to be transferred to another hospital. And in the end, what they did instead was they called CPS and did a medical kidnapping and tried to accuse the mother of having Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So I find it strange that there's so much focus on stranger danger and this video coming out showing the little kids being led away by the man promising them puppies. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's so scary, it could be my kid. When, you know, realistically, the chance is very low. And, you know, there are other dangers that are sort of more prevalent that actually get a lot less attention, but probably should get a lot more attention. So let me know what you think. Are we too paranoid about stranger danger? And what do you tell your kids? And thanks for liking this video and for leaving your comments. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.